if we de-zoom and we take the top 10 best jungler in history, I think that Kanavi doesn't belong to this close club. I think Kanavi is not top 10 ever.
Right, we're back for Hot Take Point Made League of Legends edition. I will say at the outset, it's slightly awkward, but whatever. We just want to try having them more often. We are recording this at the end of Saturday, which is the semi-finals of EWC. So any takes we have, if they vaguely touch on topics of the people who play tomorrow when KC plays D+, we don't know who wins that one yet. Now, that will never matter to the community because actually one of the most whack things about esports is people don't trash talk. What they do is they see you make a comment during the game and then they go, ooh, I could reply now because he's wrong, but then I could be wrong. So they wait. And then when the final score comes in, they go, yo, look at that. Didn't you even know the thing I know? And it's like, well, no, I've got Doc Brown in a DeLorean, so I have to just go off what happened to me, didn't I? You know what I mean? I couldn't know what was going to happen later in the game, could I? What's great is that's actually secretly like a whining subtweet about the World Cup as well as EWC. But I made it sound like it was just about League, even though I'm still salty as whatever about. But here's the thing about me though, mate. Because years ago I learned how to not read the replies, I actually can just do, even though I'm sure everyone's banging my head in the replies, it's probably like 800 replies. Doesn't matter. I read them. Don't worry about that. Exactly. What I learned was from that Simpsons one where it's like, you know, those kids would be really upset if they could read, Bart. It's like, I'm not reading them, so don't worry about that. You can't get me. So this is how you know also we're in a new generation of Hot Take Point Made, because obviously I made this show with the idea that Keire was going to be like the clown just coming up. Look, he's a fan, he can say anything. And he's like, Knight's actually better than Faker, and always was. And everyone's like, who the hell's this guy? But actually in the new era, obviously Zaboutine's the secretly based one, isn't he? So you're going to start apparently with the hot take. So what is the hot take? What crazy shit we're coming up with this time?
This is a take that's crazy enough that a fan could have done it.
Oh,
so okay. In the all-time record, right? If we de-zoom and we take the top 10 best jungler in history, I think that Kanavi doesn't belong to this close club. I think Kanavi is not top 10 ever.
Oh, why is he done that though? MSI champion.
Okay. Let's elaborate a little bit. So I've taken a short list. And I think there are two criteria which we can select from, which is going to be peak and consistency, right? Like someone who has been extremely consistent at the top level, or someone who has been able just through sheer power to be able to win some tournaments and kind of get fill the trophy or Mori. So if we start by the people who have a much better consistency than Kanavi, it's not very hard to be more consistent than Kanavi. I think I can refer to your tweet, Keire. But you're going to have people like Thorin. I think Bengi deserves to be in that club. I think Canyon, Owner, probably Peanut. So we're already at 5, right? We're already at 5.
Okay.
And then you're going to have someone like Karsa as well, who's done probably like as good as in terms of result, but in terms of like average performance. And then you can go into the realm of Ambition, who has 1 word. So in terms of peak, it's better.
There's some mad ones going on. Yeah, this is mental, this take. Go on, keep going.
I would say even someone like, what's his name? Tian, I think in terms of peak performance, is better at his peak than Kanavi. So
you're at 9 so far, but I think so. I think you need 1 more, don't you? I need a couple more. Dandy.
Dandy. So I have Canyon, Owner, Peanut, Dandy, Shun, Karsa, Yankos, Bengi, Tarzan, and Ambition. Because I think Yankos over the years has reached World Finals, won a million of domestic titles, has an MSI title. I think he can reach.
All right, just to check, in this, are we actually doing best, or is this like GOAT jungler? You set your career matters as well, what you do and you play. Not like level.
Yes, of course.
It's not just best.
Right,
okay. That makes more sense for Bengi and Ambition and that. Yeah, okay, right.
Right, like in the golden tables of who were the best top 10 jungles in history of League of Legends, I don't think Kanavi, and I'm a Kanavi hater, just as a disclaimer.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think Kanavi belongs to that club because I would even rate someone like MLXJ. MAG above him. So
how many more hot takes are going to get?
I'm going spicier. I'm cranking the spice, but I would say my list: Canyon, Owner, Peanut, Dandy, Shun, Karsa, Yankos, Bengi, Tarzan, and Ambition all belong to the top 10 more than deserve to be in that top 10 more than Kanavi, and therefore Kanavi doesn't belong because either through consistency or peak, he's below these people.
I could take this one, Thorin.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll give some. Like, okay, no. Okay, so I'm actually slightly a Kanavi hater, but I will always defend Kanavi on facts, right? And to quote the best-selling Italian-American singer ever, like, the thing to describe Kanavi is he done it his way, like my way, right?
Okay.
What you need to understand about Kanavi, right, is he done it as being a bus driver a lot of the time. And when he did play with other All-Stars, he actually changed a lot of his playstyle. Kanavi only fucked up one tournament when he had All-Star teammates, and it was Worlds. The rest of the time, he put the hatch down, he like took the ego down, and he actually allowed himself to be carried in like big waves. But when he was outside of that, right, Kanavi won an LPL, right, with 369, Yagao, and a fucking bot lane that nobody would have given a chow for, right? Against like Nai and another flawed team, but he still won it, right? Also, what you need to understand about Kanavi, when Kanavi was at his like prime, like peak of his powers, he didn't get to play MSI because a world event basically happened that like whatever. Like, so Kanavi should have went to a spring MSI. Had Kanavi went to that MSI with Zoom, I swear to God, like, the Korean fans don't understand what would have happened to their teammate. Like, this guy would have done the most illegal things. Bro, he had, like, Loki as, like, an ADC. Like, and he'd, like, ping him to take his waves off him on Kindred.
By the way, I can say we actually did this discussion of what would happen at MSI 2020 on the Shut Up and Scale show, because the reason it's more interesting, if people remember, is it would have been, like, Cloud9, the G2 with Perkz and mid, but Caps ADC. It actually would have been a really scuffed one. LCK, I think, was going to be like T1, but like a whack one or so. Or was it like Genji? I think it was T1. I think it was T1 won that one. I think it was T1 with like Teddy or something.
No, it would be Damwon, wasn't it?
No, not in 2020 spring. Am I wrong on that one? Would it be that?
Let me check.
No, they come on in summer, I'm almost certain. Who was it? I think it was T1. I think it was T1, but it was like a bad T1, I seem to think.
They got cancelled. It was it was a bad T1. You're right, because they beat Genji. You're right.
It was before they got the other players. Yeah,
you're right. And so they were all like, it was such a scuff thing, right? And here's the thing: what people don't understand, right? That JDG team wasn't scuffed. That was like supremacy, the best version of it. You had Yagao and his perfect meta, by the way. Like, he was like, he had all the in that meta. He had all the main picks, all the counter picks. Yes, Knight had just like choked the final, right? But Yagao was actually like good in that final, and in that specific meta, Kanavi never got to play that tournament because of like what happened, right? At that tournament, it would have been sick, right? Kanavi, also, what you need to understand is like, in basically every single team he was in, bar JDG, he is outright way either the first or second best player. And if he's not and he is like the first or second best player by a factor that is like ridiculous, as in like, the floor raising that like Kanavi does on like any roster that he's in is like absolutely insane. The only time he's like ever had like a really bad result is the super scuffed like LCK format like in winter. The you know what I mean? Like
the LCK Cup.
Now, yeah, the LCK Cup, right? The other thing you really got to understand about this is like, and this is like a thing happens of like a circumstance. People like Bengi, I even think like take Bengi. I think Bengi's like season 3 and early season 4 is a little bit underrated. I went back and watched it a lot of the time. Bengi's actually like a pretty good player during that. But see later on when he like wins like a bunch of stuff additionally with like Faker, and I know that all like entices into his like greatness. But he if you look at the number of games Bengi is playing, he literally isn't playing the games. Like he's playing like something like 11 games a season or something like that. I would bet fucking Kanavi would love to just be sitting in the ranks and it's like, okay, Canyon, you're not working for JNG. How about you come in and play Pantheon this game? Like, I think Kanavi, not that he would like it, but like it would be like easier to perform in that metrics. The same way as he would come in for like fucking Tom, I've forgotten name in history. So
Blank.
Yeah, I can understand. Blank, yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So all these fucking names that you like replaced them. I actually do hold hands on the whole thing of like Jankos is better than him. By the way, this is like something that people who are like big LCK stands just don't want to hear. I actually think fucking Jankos like not clears them, but like is better by a margin that they don't even want to bring by argumentation. But one thing I will say, I would say 100% Kanavi versus field of opponent and achievement is better than Karsa. I think Kanavi versus field of opponent and achievement is much better than someone like MLXG. And someone like, who was one of the other names that you said? Hey,
Ambition,
like
probably.
Ambition, yeah. Like, Ambition wins that one world, but, like, against, you know, greatness, like, totality, you've got to remember, Kanavi, like, changes metas and stuff as well. Like, and here's, like, the other, like, big crux about, like, Kanavi. When Kanavi played against, like, the other, like, great players, like, Had Knight and stuff like that, right? He never actually, like, hid behind, like, the fact of, like, excuses. As in, like, Kanavi stuck to his guns and stayed, like, a primary carry, like, player. And, like, would, like, did not, like, abandon it. And that's why... That's a good thing in terms of, like, self-belief, but it's also why you see, like, games where he'll go, like, 1-11 on Qiyana. Like, Kanavi, as I tweeted out, Kanavi's bad games are some of the worst games you'll ever see of an all-time great player, but it's because he cannot be, like, he really struggles, like, to be basically, like, in the back of the bus, and so, like, it comes up in, like, so many different ways. So, like, there's factors there, like, I really do agree with, but I think he does, not easily, but I think he does make the fringes of, like, the top 10, and if you look at his LPL, like, body of work and all the years that people he played against, he's, like, quite similar there.
The problem I have with this topic is basically... This is why I asked if it was like a GOAT list, not a best list, because to you, it sounds like you're blurring the lines on it. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Even though I understand the stylistic differences, like, I actually do think a lot of times, here's the thing, I always said, for me, but if I take Keire's point, like, Kanavi has some of the worst bad in games and, like, terrible games where you just don't have a game. It's actually he's probably the biggest Jekyll and Hyde player ever in jungle, in my opinion. Because I always say to people, the reason why I've been tricked a million times, especially when he was on top esports, is because when he actually has great games, he just does that solo queue shit where the first 10 minutes you just destroy the whole game and there is no game after that. Like, if you were in solos, you'd love to play with a player like that. You'd be like, this is fucking amazing. Like, I don't even have to be head and lane, we just win the game because, like, my jungle just destroyed the other jungle. It's got all the path in, got a million fucking ganks off. By the way, he's the sort of player also that when he ganks, he gets the kill. He gets like 10 kills in a game, you know, some mad like carry. But it's true as well. The actual ints are almost like the opposite. So it's the mirror of that. You can have the absolute worst ones ever. And he had a lot of those, not only in TS, but especially internationally, obviously. And JDG as well, he had some criminal ones. The problem I have is, right, in theory, there's plenty of other people in that list also fit, like Tarzan failed internationally. But I know what you mean. Tarzan in general, it's more like he didn't carry. He didn't often int the shit out the game. And often, also, you look at his teammates, he often didn't have as good teams, did he? So the list in general is good. Like, pretty sweet. It's a debatable topic. The problem is, it depends how much you care about domestic success, though, doesn't it? Because he didn't have those problems in the LPL is the issue. Like, I'll just give you the quick rundown. The LPL, the actual domestic resume is fucking sick, especially now, by the way. True, he didn't just get to win an LCK, which he should have if there was a spring split, because he probably would have, but he got to win 5 LPLs. He was the MVP of the LPL twice. He was a first team LPL player 7 times. Like, that is crazy work. Because as Keire said, beyond like the two with JDG, he's the daddy in these teams, bro. Like, you swap him for someone else, they probably don't win these championships. That's why he's the MVP. So I do think his highs are extremely high. With that said, I'll tell you why the timing of this take is pretty good, though. Because actually a fan is going to take what I said when you were saying the take initially. They're going to go, but he's the MSI champion. I made the gag on something inside, not because of him. What are you talking about? He was hinting the final. Like, that was crazy work. If I was Sean, I'd be like, you got my championship there, bro. This is bullshit. What the fuck? Just because Bin lost, you get to be the champion and I suck. Like, no. So I don't think that counts for him, bro. And then also, and that, by the way, that is a super team he's on. And then obviously the worst one ever is, this is why it's easy to look at the laws and kick him off. If you have that JDG 2023 team, bro, let's line up all these other junglers. Would you win with that team? Mate, almost all the list would. In fact, some of them would go, that'd be the easiest team to win with. I have like the 3 winning lanes, basically. I have unbelievable players, or I just have the stacked ass squad that can't lose. The other reason it's also criminal, in my opinion, he didn't win Worlds with JDG, is because he also was famous for being really good in like team fights, and that was like the ultimate team fighting team. You would think that should be the team that has like 4 carries in a game, basically. It's ridiculous. The best top team fighting top player. So I do think the criminal thing is, it's hard. Essentially, Kanavi made his own we say it in English, you made a rod for your own back. He made all these problems himself. Like, if he just wins the one with his absolute best teams ever internationally, if he wins those titles, this conversation isn't happening. Because you could still look and there'd still be the same ints in the other ones, but everyone could go, yeah, but he has got a Worlds, he has got another MSI, he has got, like, that'd be pretty hard to argue against. I know what you mean, though. If you look at the flaw of his game, I actually look at that list, and there's not many people on that list as shit like that. Like, I do agree, I think the Bengi one's questionable, but to be fair, he obviously did win the Worlds, etc. And I think that one's more questionable. And also, you're, in the same way as you hate Kanavi, you are just ridiculously biased towards Ben. You know, I think it's fucking absurd, but whatever. Also, even though I used to love Dandy a lot, you'll notice I've stopped saying that take the last few years because he's one of those players like my boy Mad Life, even to some degree like Mata, where what happens is, unfortunately, because their careers are so short, well, when the game was half as long, they had pretty good careers. Now every single great player in the modern day has like 5-6 years, don't they? So unfortunately, people like Dandy, like, you barely played the game compared to the modern people, did you? Like, I'm sorry, you are on some like Di Stefano running around when the goalkeeper has no gloves on type shit. Like, no one counts that. No one's, even though I can still remember it, I'm pretty sure if I pull up the VOD, it's going to fucking look pretty janky if I watch some of the players they're making. So I think the only person on this list that has as low lows is probably Carson, actually. I think he also was a tilt fucking magnet and used to in a lot of games too. But then again, to be fair, he didn't play that much of his career in the LPL. A lot of it was also when he was on bloody Flash Wolves, wasn't it? So actually, I can't even hate him. So I don't know. I don't agree necessarily, but I don't hate the take, put it that way. I think it's a very good hot take because just on the surface, he just won MSI, didn't he? Like, that's fucking insane. Yep. Like, we're supposed to say, well, I don't think this, but some people be like, he's the best jungler in the world. Like, yeah, he isn't though, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that for now, boys. That's all good. And I also do think as well, if anything, the most entertaining part for me was just you doing that list, because some of those, I'm not even going to address Ambition, bro. He doesn't even get to be on that fuck right off. He might be on as a mid laner if we're going to the Mad Life era. He used to be pretty sick as a mid laner. Get the fuck out of here. As a jungler, as far as I can tell, because remember, that was like season 7. Yeah, that was a fucking rough time, homie. That was like Peanut on T1. Bloody hell, like, that was MLX. That was his competition. That's who he was playing. He was playing Cos and go, mate, that top 4 of Worlds. There's a hot take for you. Top 4 of season 7 Worlds is ass cheeks for jungle. What are you talking? MLXG's probably the best. The guy himself who was like, I int or I throw the game. Or I win the game, but I just do every gang. It's like, which is it? You'll find out. He should have been called 369. MLG should have been called 369.
Hey, Zaboutine, the name you should have went for, and I could have got behind you instead of Ambition was Spirit. If you had said Spirit, I could have held hands with you a little bit, right? Because Spirit does go all the way from like season 4/3, like deep end. Like, people don't realise how long that guy's career was, by the way. He's got game.
Yeah, I actually do
as well. But...
I actually do agree on the Jankos one, by the way. Even though if you look at career resume, I'm sorry, LEC titles don't count like LPL and LCK titles, but if you just look internationally, bro, Jankos has an underrated international career. He has a lot of years. He was really fucking good against everyone. Like, I think you had to be pretty cracked to ever beat Jankos directly. I think teams might have beaten him. I don't know that he lost. Like, look, especially in the latter years of G2, he looked masterful, didn't he? He looked actually fucking unbelievable. His problem was he was just European, so no one gave him the status.
Yep.
I think there's a mini hot take. As jungle, he actually did for me enter at one point in time the like Hillasang Mickey X of support, where like, oh, we don't care that you're from the West, mate. You're as good as all the Asian ones, and they would probably even agree. I think he was, yeah. Okay, right. We actually have a cool sponsor for this one, believe it or not, which is going to be. Wait there a second. It is Huel, and it is when you are going to play games, do work, go to school or whatever. I don't know about you, but it took me a long time until I was much, much older in my life before I ever became mature enough to like plan ahead, to check, do I have time to do something? And actually eating a meal, especially if it's like lunch or something, it's one of the easiest things ever to forget about, isn't it? Like, you forget to go shopping, so you don't have the stuff to prepare. You haven't got time to get a takeaway. Maybe you got to play games, you got to do something, you got to do a Zoom meeting, you got to go to school, you got to go to work. Oftentimes you just end up eating basically crap. You eat like some candy and bad noodles. By the way, I can't believe how many people love ramen. You know, it has almost no nutritional value whatsoever. Like, there's a reason why the people who ate that food traditionally used to just work in a field and had no money. Like, the idea that in the modern day, because of K-pop, was ramen, like, mate, that wasn't the style. So what's mad is people don't realise something like Huel isn't actually just like a drink. It's actually a complete meal. If you drink that, you don't actually have to have like your lunch. I actually tried it out. I actually tried not having lunch one time and drinking this as a strawberry and banana one. And in this bottle, the RTD bottle, this is the grab and go, 35 grams protein, 7 grams fibre. It's under $5 a meal. And actually, it did last me hours and hours. And I had my evening meal in the evening. And I wasn't going like, oh, after an hour, like, bit peg. I just didn't notice. I just got on with my day. It was all fine. So it is a complete meal. You don't have to skip your lunch if you're busy or you're on the go. Keeps you full, thanks to what? Protein and fibre. That's actually the secret. The Black Edition powder, by the way, which which as you can see from Keire, there's like a shaker, you can put that in. That is actually 40 grams of powder. It mixes with water or milk in like 30 seconds. You just shake it basically. It is a complete meal, like I say. You don't have to have food aside from that. It's not just like a shake you have and then have food as well later. This is a meal. It has 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, colours or flavours. Our offer is you will get 15% offline if you're a new customer. By the way, it's written there Huel, but it's spelled Huel. And so, limited time offer, make healthy eating simple. Get Huel today with my exclusive offer for 15% off online with my code LFN at huel.com/LFN. New customers only. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show. Okay, now Keire, step up. What's your take?
I'm coming up to the plate, Your Honor. Right, I've got one, right? And I'm so fucking right. As someone who watches a lot of League of Legends, right? I think this is... I hate people that skate on piss ice, right? They skate on the fucking thinnest of ice, right? And I think we're going to have to bring it forward. Ben is no longer elite, and we should stop talking about him being elite, right? Now, I went and fact-checked this, right? Okay? Right? People still going into MSI, and I already had my doubts, and at MSI, people are giving credit, right, to other people for beating Ben as if, like, oh, well, he beat Ben, right? Okay, well, that means, like, stuff like that. I do not think Ben is elite, right? And here's what I think, okay? I don't think you get to be elite in terms of, like, say you've got, like, a top fucking 10 of players. Well, the 4 best players are automatically elite. I think that's absolute bollocks, right? I think you're, like, elite based on, like, how you play in the game, right? So, like, just because you're top 4, right, doesn't mean you're elite. There could be nobody elite in your role if you're all shite at it, right?
Okay.
I don't give a flying fuck, right? And right now, there are basically like...
even though obviously the top person would be the best, you mean like qualitatively, if I look with my eyes, no one was playing like all-time great. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Okay. And what you need to understand is, we have now got a version of Ben, right, who is losing to World Elite top laners, right? He is losing to Saiwu just on a fucking Sunday night. By the way, Ben isn't on some, like, tech pack, like, the really cooked top lane. He's on his Gnar. You know what I mean? He's on his, like, best picks, right? Double picks. Like, yes, he has that one really good upper bracket matchup into Zeus, and he does really, really well there. No doubt about that, right? But it wasn't, I don't think he was lights out versus Thorin, you know what I mean, in the BO5. And I don't think his, like, gameplay was lights out versus, like, T1, like it has been in the past. And in the final, it wasn't very, very, very good in my opinion. I think he was a bit fucking
He definitely
shit.
cost the last 2 games, didn't he? Certainly.
Yeah, right, okay. And so here's the problem, right? If I am to start thinking of you as, like, elite, you have to be one of the best players in the world the majority of the time I see you, right? And that just isn't true for Ben. Like, it just isn't. Like, I don't think he justifies those credence. And I don't think people should be getting the respect on their name for beating this version of the player. I think if you actually, like, scaled back and you were like, okay, Ben isn't as good as right now, you would understand why loads of players are beating him. Because I think, we talked about this before, Thorin. Ben's one of those people that even now still hasn't survived from Fearless. As in, like, Fearless has really hurt him. Like, you've seen it all of last year. He's having to find all these picks he's a lot less comfortable on. The Rumble, which he, like, you know, he practiced a lot in 2024 to bring it forward for BLG, but it still isn't brilliant. Because he cannot pivot into the Gwen, the Gnar, the Jax, all these iconic, like, Ben picks. So I don't think Ben should be thought of as elite. Now, thankfully, in his team, the support jungle component has come way up. You know what I mean? Just by the by, like, randomly, right? Okay? But yes, BLG should be thought of as a solo lane team. But I think you can even see it today versus DK. They should be thought of as a very flawed solo lane team. Because right now, I don't think Ben's justifying the mustard. And I think either he needs to, like... I'm not saying, like, you should remove him. But I think you should always look at BLG with the idea of, like, they have a player who they're oversaturizing with advantages and putting a lot of gold into, who isn't giving you the return that's expected.
I think it's a very interesting take, and it's a harder take to defend, to attack than it seems, right? Because I do agree with you that people rely too much on names. And I would say the weights of your past achievements usually outweigh the factual analysis of what's produced on the Rift. The thing that I'm kind of picky about is I think that the argument you're making about Ben, you can make it about, I would say, 80 to 95% of the players currently playing on League of Legends. 2026 has been really the shape of the day. Whether you have good prep, your draft is good, you slept well. Like we had a Romain from G2 asking why Labrov was performing so well after so many years of performing pretty poorly on international stage or higher stakes matches. And it's like, we just fixed his sleep. You know, so I feel like we're getting at the point where everybody knows how to play League of Legends. Everybody knows the do's and don'ts of macro. Most of the patterns have been really figured out. And so it's really, are you able to consistently produce greatness when you're playing the game? And very few players are actually passing that test currently. I think there is an argument to say that Faker is not really a force to be reckoned with as of recently. You can say the same about some of the best ADCs. I don't think Ruler has had definitely a great spring split, for instance, right? You could say very few players, actually. It's much easier to look at the players that are consistent nowadays than the players that aren't. Knight is consistent, and yes, there is no discussion about whether Knight is like elite. He is the elite currently. I think Chovy is still as consistent, even though the egregious draft prevent them from going to MSI. Yes. But today, he still played amazing. I don't think he's responsible of the loss. He's still like delivering exactly like, you know, that the worst level of Chovy is like a 7 out of 10. It's like the absolute worst of Chovy. Pace is elite. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone would argue. I think Keire as well is elite because I think his impact overall in games is not like really supported anymore by Honor nor Faker. So that's where the gap happens in T1. But I would say for Bean, what applies in your judgment to him applies to a lot of people. And I don't even think it's very easy nowadays to build an elite team top to bots because there is variance for every single player. And then if you go past that layer of he hasn't been as consistent really, recently, I would still say that he has the best TP game of all the players that are play competitively nowadays, because it's not about what he does. Technically, it's not that hard. It's the timing and it's the timing and the position of the TPs that always edge for his team. He always managed to isolate someone or take the aggro, and that gives a lot of space. And then you're like, Shun did an amazing team fight. Yes, he did, but there were 3 people focusing Bin, and that space is crucial. That said, yes, he's not as ahead as he used to be. He's not as retributing as he used to be. I don't think he's as versatile as people think he is. And you have this kind of trifecta where Keen is the best weak sider, Zeus is the best range, and Bin is probably the best bruiser. And depending on where you are in the fearless, someone's gonna be better than the other.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
It is very, but on the other end, and it's where I agree with you. I think that what you say is true for a lot of players, and I think that's kind of the flavor that we have for this year 2026. Is like being elite. No, is for it's in a given week. It's in a given match. It's in a given.
Here's the thing.
Even for a split,
put a pin in that because I've got to take a bit like that for mine coming later that you'll like. So it's going to be hot because fans are going to hear. It's going to be exactly on. It's about fearless bit, so we'll say that.
Because I see Skumon playing his picks and he's absolutely elite. Every single jungler in Korea looks at Skumon like this guy is a monster.
Don't worry, you can run this back. It's going to come in a minute. That's going to be my take.
Okay. No, don't worry.
Not about Skumon.
Because. Right, and I truly think that very, very, very few players, probably a list of like 5 or 6, are currently elite in League of Legends because no matter who they play with, no matter which champion they play on, no matter what the game state is, they are always harder to kill, they land more skill shots, they understand the situation better, they understand their draft condition better, and even when they're back to the wall, they're like, you look at the last team fight of Pace with Xayah, when he has the Ocean Soul earlier today, and you look at him facing 5 players of KC, and they cannot finish the game because they can't kill him, because his spacing is just flawless. This is elite. I don't think Bin is there anymore, but if Bin's not there anymore, so is most of the players in League of Legends.
Yes,
Right?
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay, here's my problem. Sadly, I agree. Because even though, especially after that 2024 Worlds, I was actually ready to sort of be like, maybe he's the GOAT top laner, bro. Like, and normally you'd never think it could be a Chinese player because LCK has just produced the most insane. I think that is, the joke is that's how EU mid fell off. The best lineage ever in League of Legends is LCK top lane carry. It's unbelievable. It goes from the beginning of the game literally until now. And almost every year there's a great player. Like, even the laws, I always tell people, like, if you think Khan was like a choker, yes, he was, but that's the only thing that stopped him being the GOAT, bro. Like, that's how good he was. So good. You know what I mean? That's
good.
So if that's like your bad players in the league, holy fuck. Again, like Nagori, he went to China, Rune's great. Yeah, exactly. It takes like acts of God to stop these guys. But I actually thought at one point Bin did look GOAted. But here's what's funny. I'll back into this topic where I'll talk about some things you mentioned by saying this. I think the reason why it's sort of true is because Fearless has absolutely like made Bin about half as effective in the game. Because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about in my take later about Fearless, he can't do now. He can't say, I pick my jacks and either you ban it, waste a ban on it, or you pick it. Otherwise, I pick it every time. Or you try and pay a counter. And then also, he was another one of those great top laners that was like, I have like 3 champions, I play all the matchups. I play both sides of it. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. So again, now he actually has to just fear 5 distinct champions. And by the way, God forbid you ever do ban 1 or 2 of his good champions, and he's in a lot of fucking trouble. And so I actually think one of the other reasons why he is actually not elite in this team is we take for granted that when he came up on BLG, that team, he was the daddy in that team. People forget this. Elkin then became good later. I'm sorry, Yagao was never elite anyway. Like, they were always a bit scoffed in some of the other positions. It was mainly, Bin was the guy on that team. And so he also got the ultimate carry treatment of like, of course you get your pick anytime you want, sir, whatever you say. I think you could even argue, actually, because he has to, I don't believe he can be a true weak sider. I think he can have the odd game on his stomach, but when we're talking about like a world player, I actually also think another detail of things like Fearless, by the way, is you notice nowadays, I think this is why people like Zeus are so well suited. You have to be a bit of a hybrid. You have to be able to do a bit of both because you never know how the draft's going to go. What if the comp comes out that the ADC has to carry this game? Like, well, then you shit all luck if you had to go into the top lane. So in this case, I also think actually in the modern day BLG, you could argue in the last few years, he's limited their team because first of all, when they've got Knight in, I actually thought the most whack thing was it looked like Knight was the one in the draft who sacrificed because remember, Elk was playing so great at the beginning. It was like, right, Bin and Elk get their champions, then Knight just does whatever in the draft. So I mean, Keire were like pulling our hairs out because it's like, well, yeah, fuck this. Give this guy the champion. He'll carry the game. Then now, when they got Viper, right? Viper's willing to be the weak side. Yeah, but now you've got like a muted Viper who's only good on the mages, and now we're giving Bin his picks, mate. He's getting his picks in the game. But as you say, the joke is Skewbond actually more consistent on his picks than Bin now. Look, he'll always be able to make a fan think otherwise because even like in that fan, he'll always have the Jax game. But in Fearless, that'll only ever be one game. That can't ever be what it was. Like at 2024 Worlds, every time he gets Jax, it's over, mate. Like he's going to shit all over him. So actually, he probably was a little bit overrated because he was indexed very heavily into certain champions. And then he was just like, if you want to have the talk about the best ever on certain champions, he's got a few he's in the mix for.
Yes.
But yeah, you go outside of that and you think, especially of all the great top laners, there are so many. I even agree right now, there's a lot of really great top laners just in the world in general. You could even argue, by the way, this is a bit of a hot take in itself. In that sense, as long as he plays well internationally, you could actually argue the versatility of Broken Blade's helping more right now.
I was about to say.
Yeah, because if I back into it, I'll do the one for this year to show that this year I agree, right? He was elite at first stand. He was mega at that tournament. People forget, by the way, the split before that, he wasn't that good. He came alive at first stand. That was really bizarre. Then you had, in LPL Spring, early on, he kept his first stand like form and he had some really good games. But people forget, he actually fell off in the season. And in the playoffs, he was actually super up and down. People just don't know because they won the split. Again, if you don't watch the LPL, you think, he must still be the best top player. Wow, he's shitting on everyone. It's like, nah, just the odd game earlier in the split, mate. And MSI, I said, listen, I don't think he was shit, but I certainly think like he's one of the reasons they didn't win the final, mate. And he's also, I agree with you, actually against Thorin, people made it sound, this is why he's smart, by the way, because he did the Conor McGregor thing. He made you look at the trash talk, not the games. So you look at I beat Thorin. It's like, that was fucking back and forth, mate. And that's when Thorin sometimes does have dodgy games. Also, I'll say this for the millionth time, Faker must be going, Thank God for Thorin, bro, because then he never gets blamed for his bad games anymore. Everyone just blames Thorin. They act like Thorin has 5 bad games in every series. Like, Faker can have 1 or 2, mate, where he does now, or he can't play the champion. Because as long as Thorin also is shit, well, when no one's looking there, right? We're all going, that bloody Thorin. Because remember, everyone still, because of Worlds, doesn't even treat him like a world champion. It's like, yeah, your world champion doesn't count. That we gave you that, basically. Like, we let you join the gang at the end. Like, you can have 1 as well. But he doesn't get treated like a world champion. And then the last thing I'll say is, the timing's perfect for this, obviously. Because even though I have actually, Keire knows this, I've always been a fan of that guy, Shiwu on D+. I think he actually does have the sort of chops to become one of these carry tops. It's probably he's on D+. But here's the thing, if you only watch the big games, because mainly people watch the LCK playoffs, in the road to MSI, he was fucking ass cheeks. He was really, really bad, unfortunately, in that series. Even though his team was leading in all the games, he really just like entered the shit out of that series against KT, and he made himself look stupid. So to a fan, if that's the level you think he's at, and then he just body bagged Bin, because by the way, there's one game where he just kills him like 6 times or something mental. Like, it's absurd. And the one where he's played Tristana against Snar, like, he made it look like Bin doesn't even know the champion Tristana's in the game. Like, what? He's killing me and jumping in and then jumping out. Like, yeah, of course, he's going to do that again in a minute as well. Like, so I do think that was a great. I know what you mean. I actually think, here's the problem. Essentially, he's doing an even more extreme version of Kanavi, but as a top laner, isn't he? His carry games look sick. So you go, he's back. The boy's back on Jax, but then his bad games actually lose you the game, bro. They just flat out leave you. I would even argue, by the way, in Game 4 and Game 5, it wasn't just Zeus being good on tanks. Bro, Bin was doing stuff like have a slight lead in lane, do nothing with it. Converted into fucking nothing. Like, if you're the best of all time in a carry top laner, you smash the game with that. You destroy the opponent. You take over the map. You're the LPL top laner, bro. So I actually think it's a fair take. It's even making me sadly start to, the last 2 years, starting to question his overall status. If we were going to do one of those GOAT top lane lists, I think actually the last 2 years, he started to destroy his own legacy. No, I'm with you. I think it's good. I think it's a good hot take. I agree. I agree with that hot take. Even though I hate it because I sort of love him as a player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. He's such an effective player. And know what was funny? I was actually reviewing old like season 6 games, and I watched fucking Duke play Rammus top into Smeb, right? And Spring, okay?
I remember that.
It was, you remember it, right? Okay, I was like, would fucking Ben do this? And I was like, no, I don't even think he's got the capacity to do this, right? But nobody talks up, bigs up like, you know what I mean, Duke, Rammus top, and like talked about how versatile he was. But mate, Duke took a big step back, and I was like, it's so crazy because everyone like thinks, oh, season 6, that's the Stone Ages and stuff like that, and it kind of like put the emotions in for me to think about it like that.
No, I think it's a fair take. Okay. Right. Did you know there is now a way that you can have your voice said on Hot Take Point? I know in the past anyway you could do a topic, but there's a new way to do the topic, which is LFN Premium. And it will now mean, along with getting the ability to add topics here, there's a load of other shows where you can also have a topic. And at the end of this episode, we're going to do it for free this time to give you a taste, but there's going to be a Q&A section, which you can talk about. That will also come from a Discord, whereas obviously on this show, we never had Q&A, did we? You could do one hot take, but that was it. And your hot take will literally be read out with your name on air, and you will submit it in the future when you're premium. Go to last3nation.com via the Discord channels. And by the way, now even though you can still be a Discord sub and submit a take, why bother? Why not just take away the Discord sub and do the subscription? You're gonna get way more bang for your buck, because LFN is obviously owned by us. The creators actually own LFN. We're not owned by a company. The sponsors don't own us in that sense. And so because we own it, we can say what we like, we can say what we think. These are actually two very valuable things in a corporatized media space. So your sub to the LFN Premium is actually what will help us remain independent. So we're going to have the Q&A later. Also, by the way, if you actually subscribe, you get ad-free feeds for all 16 LFN shows on Spotify and every podcast platform, and then bonus content like Q&As for each show goes into the same feed, in case you're somebody who likes to do it when you're out and about or on mobile devices, all that sort of a thing. You know how podcast networks work. So in order to become a premium member, it is simple. You go to last3nation.com. It is live already. You can go and sign up now. It costs $9 a month, or $90 for the year if you want to save a little bit, which comes out to about $7.50 a month. If you actually pick Hot Take Point Made League of Legends, when you sign up, because it asks like what your favourite show is, we will actually get a bunch of your sub as well. We will actually get some of it. You can directly support us and encourage us to do more shows and keep doing it. And you will help pay for the network. So there's also a 7-day money back guarantee in case you want to just give it a try. So again, that is lastfreenation.com. We will now do the fan topic, which is a bit like the old fan hot take anyway. But at the end, remember, when we come back and do the Q&A, in the future, there will be one every episode and for all the other shows, but that'll be behind the paywall. So the fan topic for this one, I purposely picked. Man's going to come later with the fearless one. Don't worry. We're going to go back to that. It's going to be right up your alley, because I've been thinking similarly. But the fan topic is actually a really, really topical one. I think it's a bagger. The fan topic, because I was thinking of this for my take, so I've just changed it up as we were talking. The fan take is the best backer NA says Perkz becoming the head coach of G2 is the best possible scenario for their future success. Now that, gentlemen, is a hot take. Thoughts?
Whoa.
No, okay. Nah.
Let's go. Let's go. That's all the hot takes we've had, boys.
Pump the fucking brakes.
No.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, God.
It is an extremely complex topic, because that goes into the rabbit hole of coaching. That I think that is the biggest mystery for anyone who has never done any type of individual or collective performance-driven
Put it this way, Zaboutine, I'll tell you an obvious angle that I've always said from knowing people who are coaches. You know when the fan, who's the armchair critic, and he goes, why don't you just draft that? And it's like, I go, I want to pop in, like, you know, Microsoft clip, like, well, actually, my ADC doesn't play that. He's afraid to play that, and he can't play the other matchup too. No one will ever say that, though. That'll never, the pop-up will never happen. But to them, you're the moron. You should have drafted him on that champion. That win. LS says that wins draft. Why didn't you do it? You're a moron. And it's not like they never think the player could do it. It's just you're a moron. You should have drafted. You're right. Coaches simultaneously does nothing, but also does everything.
But
I do. That was me talking about you and NAC.
Everyone,
you know what
everyone.
I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I was the moron fan being like, why didn't Zaboutine just fucking draft fucking that thing?
Fine. And I think, you know, my flows are everyone else's flows. So I wasn't worse. I was just in the pack of going with the flow. I think there is a lot of critics to be done. And maybe one day we'll do a show about it. It's like, what is coaching in League of Legends? And where are the limits? Because it's a very interesting topic. But if I have to make a TLDR version, is coaching is making what makes you win happen more often. That is coaching in any discipline, whether you play chess, tennis, football, business, anything. Coaching is finding what makes you win, the position in which you win, and try to engineer it to make it to reproduce, right? Like if you can make it happen more often, you're gonna win more often, and therefore you're a champion. That has nothing to do with draft. That has nothing to do with anything else. This is what coaching is. The way to go there is extremely complex, right? There is a human layer to it. There's a technical layer to it. So yes, you need to understand the game, because the baseline which you're going to exchange with your players is going to be the game that they play. So if you don't get a single fuck about the game and you come in like, you should do that because you're going to win, and you're an absolute moron about the game, the player's going to look at you and think, duh, yeah, I can't do that again. It was just luck because my opponent is bad. So you got to understand kind of like the fundamentals of the game and yada yada. So now back to Perkz. Perkz is a very successful player. Plus, he's a leader. So therefore, he has two of the very important components of a good coach. He understands what the shit he's talking about, and he has already been in a commanding position to activate his teammates into a winning position. But first, he's not playing anymore. Second, understanding how to approach these goals as a coach when you don't have the experience and you haven't worked with specific players. And I would say, not to insult them, but I think that all the League of Legends players have a very specific type of brain that makes them extremely reluctant to change, because they all climbed and they reached their level in a very specific way. Challenging that is giving them a risk to actually fail everything in their life. So even though you have a background, it is extremely hard to come and challenge. So he has his name to back him up. He has the knowledge to back him up. But yet, when you look at it, the interviews he's done, and he has done a really good interview with a website that's called RFTGG. I encourage you guys, if you want to see, it's translated in English. Where he was speaking, and you see that there is a lot of things that he doesn't know about his own job. He has the faith of the company. He has a lot of people to surround him, but the challenge is immense. And he's feeling these shoes for the very first time in his life, and he has to make that transition in a snap of a finger in the middle of the season with a summer split to play, with Casey that comes back, that is doing the shonen comeback story tonight, and it's gonna be full confidence for the summer split. They are still very hungry MCOY or Vitality that can be outsiders, and if he doesn't understand how to, I would say, cut the losses when the dynamic is going downwards, he's gonna face tremendous catastrophe, and he can be one of the worst coaching history in Europe.
Okay.
So it's not because he's gifted and he looks destined. His destiny looks to be like the one to save them all. There is a lot of red flags on the way that people won't see, but should occur. And for this reason, I cannot agree with you for now. I tried to make it short, but it's a complex topic.
Okay.
Mine is pretty quick, right? So I can speedrun it, right? With these types of moves, I'm somebody, because I'm not even in the scene, and I'm somebody who's, I've coached a little bit, but like not coached like that much, right? Okay. What do you call it? I don't really actually comment on coaching unless I have like facts that are like very like verifiable. I will say this. This is one of those moves, like the Skewmon Yike one, where if you remove someone, it creates an inferable like game theory problem where it isn't a plus situation, it's a plus minus situation. In the sense of like when you remove Yike and you add Skewmon might be better than Yike or is better than Yike. Well, that means someone else gains Yike. So G2 inadvertently created their like next rival,
I'll see what you
right?
mean. Yes.
Okay.
If someone gets Dylan Falco. Yes.
Yeah. So now someone's going to get Dylan Falco. So you have now taken a risk that's not the certain thing, okay, on Perkz, who might be like the Monty Hall problem. You know, it might be a bot, it might be whatever, right? It is a potential X factor, but someone is going to get Dylan Falco. As in, there is, okay, I can't say there's no doubt about that. Dylan might not join a team, right?
Sure, yeah.
There is a high percentage chance that Dylan joins another team and creates headaches for you, right? Beyond what you can even like begin to stratify. So beyond just KC being a problem for you, right? The Dylan might join KC and then Reaper's then not there, or he works with Reaper and now KC's this Goliath, or he goes and he creates a third problem for you. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? There's all these other situations. So I can't really say in terms of like the plus, negative, minus. Like this isn't like TSM when they went and got double from CLG, where it's like, well, you just got the best player who's just won and you added them to your team. And yes, CLG got to celebrate one championship and then checks notes, you then proceeded to win the next three. So like, it's not that type of decision. And that's kind of, I always warn against that. And that's all I've kind of got to say about it.
No, I actually like that. That angle's a really good one because he didn't even have to do the Perkz angle. What his basal point there was, even if Perkz is really good, unless Perkz is way better than Dylan Falco, not even just as good, basically, what if now Dylan Falco goes to another team? Because, by the way, even though people like me want him to join KC, because they've got a lot of talent, let's say he doesn't join KC. I'll tell you the real nightmare fuel people haven't thought of is that he joins an org that you all think's just nothing, like Giant X, but then because he joins them, you know, Mickey X joins, and then everyone comes, and then suddenly you make like a super team there, and now you're going to deal with KC, Giant X, MCOY, and then if Perkz isn't doing like 9 out of 10, it's like, what the fuck did we do that for? Like, because again, I always think in sports, the hardest thing about GMing, it's why actually players that we've just discussed before, the Kanavis of the world, that's why you don't give up on them, because you hope you make it work, and then also, you know, well, second I get rid of him, some other fucker gets him, and yeah, the games he doesn't in, now he's in my arse through the first 10 minutes, and now I'm the one who got this other player. That's actually one of the hardest parts. You could actually even argue if JDG had been any good, that would have happened with Jun, actually. Jun was awesome in JDG, it's just the rest of the team was shit and the coach was scuffed, so that didn't bite BLG directly, but it could have. Like, that was when BLG sucked after that, and they had to bring all the junglers in. The problem with that is this, right? Even though I agree with all the red flags, this is right up my fucking alley, because anytime a player has the pixie dust. He's not just a normal player. He's got that special quality. Listen, people might not know this about me, but you should understand this. Why do you think I'm such a hater? Why am I so like intensely hating on people? That hate is the opposite of love. Hate isn't like, hate is when love inverts. So what you have to understand is I'm a very romantic person, actually. When someone has my heart, I'm very loyal as well. I go to the ends of the earth. If you are those players that I love, like, if you know Counter-Strike, by the way, what's great is, here's the thing, I don't fall in love easily. I only fall in love with the true Casanovas, the ones that got that special stuff. But that's why when I then go to the wall for them, this just happened in Counter-Strike, the player that I always say could do it, mathematically, the Ingilmida Carrigan in Counter-Strike basically is like the worst player ever, basically. And he just won the World Championship. And I'm the only person in the whole world who was like, he can do it. And everyone will say, he can't, it's impossible. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know, listen, you don't know what my man's like. You don't know, you don't know him like I do. You don't know him behind closed doors when he wraps you up in that magical grip, what's like. And here's my problem. Perkz is one of my guys like that. Yeah, it's why even at the end, I don't give a shit that he was bad in Vitality and fucking Heretics, and then he was on bloody Ruddy Sack or whatever the fuck. I don't care, mate. Because here's the thing. I actually think that was literally things like his hands got worse as a player. He just like didn't have the right style of team. Also, by the way, this is going to sound like a mad counter to what I'm about to say. He actually stupidly in those teams was allowed to act as the coach while also being the star player and the highest paid player. That is it. Whoever did that as a GM, you are out your fucking mind. Like, you are begging to have your ass wrecked completely across the whole team, and even no matter how many talents you have, because you've given ultimate power to a player. Like, he's still in the lineup, bro. Like, how are we going to do a VOD review where I go, you were shit there, what were you doing there, idiot? And then they're like, but you were in the game, sir. Hey, don't speak back to the coach. What are you talking about? We're supposed to have a level of democracy in a VOD review. That's the whole point. So here's the problem, though. Even though I probably agree, I said it on some of the insight like this. I think Dylan Falco is so good that, I'm sorry, there probably isn't anyone can replace him. Like, if we can't win, do you know what? This is going to blow your minds. Maybe we just can't win Worlds. You know, we are Europe, right? Like, I'll give you a quick, but this will build into it. The problem is, to me, giving Dylan Falco, I said it this way, I think it's a 66% chance you're not only fucked up, but he goes and is awesome somewhere else. And it's maybe like a 33% chance. All your dreams come true, and Perkz is everything you wish he was, and then you actually go up one level higher and you're in the World's Finals or whatever the fuck they're dreaming of, right? The problem is, let me do the 33%. And here's why. Because it's based on a philosophical angle, which goes like this. I am someone in Counter-Strike where I always say it. I believe in what's called superstar theory in games. I believe there are star players and normal players, and they all have to obey the rules. And if you want to get star players and normal players, by the way, Dylan Falco's your dude. You put him with a bunch of star players and all, but he'll make the best team he could ever have. He'll grind 98% out of the roster. I actually think even people like Melzet do this as well. They do a really good job with like lesser squads, right? The problem is, in the West, if you do that, because our players on average aren't as good, and if you're getting just stars and star players, they're not the ones that have the pixie dust, you will just inevitably be, like, best case, like 3rd or 4th, or you'll be 5th, 8th or something. You'll be good, but you just won't win. You'll be like Lion. Oh, great job, but you lose. Sorry. Again, NA does this all the time. Oh, we almost beat them. They've had about 10 series like that in the last 3 years, bro. They never win them. Like, they only win them against EU. EU gets those wins because we have the Caps, we have Mickey X, we have these genius players that you dream of. So I'll give you an analogy, right? I took a bunch of Western region players, and I'm going to show you how what we do in the West has been too much copying off Koreans, where they can do it because they've got so much talent, they can just build teams that were boring. I'll give you an example. If we were to make a Western team, this is the type of Western team I think you'd have to win everything and actually be the greatest team of all time. It'd have to be all the geniuses. It'd have to be like Soaz. By the way, it'd have to be, when I say Jankos, I don't mean latter day. I mean Jankos, peak Jankos, like fucking gank everything.
And Soaz as well, right?
Of course. It has to be like Caps. Yeah. It has to be like Forgiven and Hillesang. It'd have to be some crazy roster like that where they really could do like some LPL super team shit like, holy fuck, we're just all over. Meanwhile, I'll give you a roster that'll sound whack from the West because this wouldn't be that great in the West. But if these people were Korean, one of them is, but if they were all Korean and you gave this talent like to a Korean coach, this would be the best team they could have. They would hate the squad I just gave you, by the way. That wouldn't be like a consistent style. They wouldn't play macro the same way. They'd be all over the place. They'd be picking different shit all the time like G2 Super Team was. The Korean would want you to build a team with like Odoan there, Latter Day Jankos, Larson mid lane, Reckless ADC and Core JJ. They would love that team, mate. That would be their dream fucking run. They'd be like, yes, this is consistent. On Monday we practice this. On Tuesday we do that. On Friday it's ready. Saturday we play it in the match. Like, that's why the regions are different. So basically my point is, I think G2's on some bullshit that I'm on. And I think by the way, it's implied the G2 players voted for him. I think the G2 players I think Caps has gotten so bored of banging his head against the glass ceiling of no matter what I do, no matter what teammates I have, no matter what draft we does, no matter what Dylan fight, you can watch a million VODs, we can only ever beat them once or twice and we still don't win the tournament. So I think Caps has bought into the dream of the G2 super team, and that is essentially what they're bringing Perkz in for. My angle is this: they're bringing him in for everything except coaching Zaboutine. They're bringing him for all the bullshit intangibles that you put in a movie, that you put in a documentary, but aren't the meat and potato. They aren't what you do on Monday. They aren't what you do on Tuesday. This is the shit where you come, like that bullshit story, even though slightly scuffed. You know that story? Oh, Cap's had a dream that if you play Kog'Maw Lulu, it beats that. Koreans would never do this, bro. They'd be like, we haven't practiced Kog'Maw Lulu. We're not doing that. We're playing like, fucking whatever, Aphelios. Like, they would do it that way. So here's what's mad. I think they want him for these reasons. They want him to be their captain. I'm not even trolling. I think they want him as a coach to be like the captain and bring like the G2 spirit of like, guys, like some of the YamatoCannon shit, like, we can do it. Believe in yourself. Be brave. I'll give you a cool thing because you'll actually like this. I know you guys like football, so you like this as a side detail. One of the dopest actual responses to the England-Argentina game was by the all-time great England player, Michael Owen, who used to be an unbelievable striker in the 2000s. And he had a really cool little thing he wrote up. It was actually wrote up before the Argentina game, wrote after the Mexico game, because he essentially thought like we didn't even really deserve to win that game, and like it was kind of a bit sus. So what he said, basically, the short version was that England players have the wrong idea about what courage is. He said they think courage is when you all stand in front of the ball and you let the ball get kicked into you. You like block it like the wall style, but parking the bus. And he said they think courage is just being willing to take a million shots and blows, and maybe the dream is even, you get a bit of blood comes out and you get to be the hero and you come off the field and you just survived and say, what a hero. And he said, no, that's not courage. He said courage is where you see your teammate in trouble, you take the ball off him and you go make a run. He said courage is when you like take a shot and you could miss and you can fuck the whole thing up and it could be a counter-attack, but you dare to try and score a goal. I think that's what G2 think they're doing with this move. I think they think they're going for like the 10 out of 10 intangibles and it won't matter with the other shit. So I think genuinely they think it's like the spirit of Perkz is what going to bring back the G2 era or whatever the fuck. And also, even on draft, I even predict this. On draft, I think he is going to think he is like Carlos Ancelotti and he is going to try to like empower the players. And remember the G2 super team? I do think this was dope. I just don't think it can be replicated by any other team that's Western. I think they're going to do that mad shit like first time picks and fucking flex drafts and things like, oh, we saw you do that last game, so now we do it even though we don't even play that shit. I think they're going to do all this ridiculous shit. Because again, remember, it's all based on the idea Perkz is some giga because as you say, he has no coaching pedigree. He's just been sort of a player that had an outsized influence on his team. So I'm sorry, I do think he's going to, even though I think there's a small chance it can work. Like I get why they do the romance of it. The problem with this is Zaboutine. I can say all this shit because I have no skin in the game. I don't get fired if this is wrong. I don't lose the championship to Dylan Falco. I don't look stupid. I just say shit on talk shows. They're the ones that are going to look stupid, unfortunately. So I like the hot take. I think it's spicy as fuck. Problem is, if you had a gun to my head, I wouldn't take it. If I don't have a gun to my head, yeah, roll the dice. It's like the Carrigan one. I don't lose if he loses. Fuck it, go for it, mate. Yeah.
Albon and Romain are backing you up at least.
Yeah,
so
they feel like crazy. It feels like that
because the management, right? The top management of G2 thinks he's the guy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that move. So you're not alone with that. And I would just add one last thing on that topic. It really reminds me of Zidane going to Real. The only thing is Zidane had a whole training arc that no one saw. Perkz didn't do that. So when you're right, he was already a trained coach and he had all the basics. But I think he really won through aura. That's at least what players were saying.
Yeah,
when he told Cristiano Ronaldo, it's like, you can play next match, but you're going to be tired. So if you want to beat Messi in terms of goals, you're going to play less matches and score more goals per match. Trust me.
Yeah, it's mind games.
Okay, coach, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's the only thing that I feel like it's going to be great for G2. I mean, give it a chance. We've tried everything and we failed. So why not try it, Perkz? I agree with that.
Exactly.
And the thing, as the other factor that Thorin always brings me onto shows for is to make analogies to Dota. It is the hour of the wolf, because the other great MOBA strategist, Puppy, has converted to being a coach, and he is instantly the best coach in the world, and is doing all the crazy the flex picks, the fucking, all that shit. He's got Dhokla playing all that stuff, and Perkz is a bit of a manifestation of that. You know what I mean? I can see Perkz. But
yes, wait, I don't think they're wrong in this sense. They have identified, if you look backwards in G2 history, no matter how good the rosters are, they never have the magic of the super team when Perkz was the ADC. Because I always used to say, I don't even think he played ADC. He just played bot lane and then just roamed on the map like a second support, and they just made crazy plays because it felt like he was pulling fucking mid-round reads out of his arse on the map with macro shit. The problem with that also, by the way, is there's no LCK coach voice. If you could talk in the game, that'd maybe work. He can only coach you in practice how to do that. So again, I think Cap's unfortunate on this one. Listen, the joke here would be, and I'm amazed no one's made it, is now he got in the hot tub with G2 players. Now he was in the hot tub with Caps drinking the pina colada. Dylan, it's not really doing it. And listen, I know you beat Gen G, but in the scrims, losing a Giant X Pro, would we have lost to Giant X? That's all I'm saying, mate. I'm not saying I should be coach. I'm just saying I think you could do a lot more. I think it's that, I think this guy, listen, he also, the Irish thing, he's got the gift of the gab, mate. He's got a fucking unbelievable talk. I mean, even in that interview, what's funny about that interview, Zaboutine, is you're right, it gives off all these red flags, but this is why, it's like the red flag comes from women talking about men, isn't it? You can see why this guy all the women would be after him, though. It'd be like, I don't care about the red flags, though. Look at those dreamy eyes. And it's the way he makes you feel, though, when he's with you. Even though it's toxic as shit, you know it is, of course. He's on a motorbike with a leather jacket. It doesn't matter. Like, listen, I know I should stay away from him.
If it was an asset, you'd be rich.
Yeah,
if he was an asset, you'd be rich.
Of course, it's ridiculous.
You're selling him it very well.
Right, the last take of the show before we do the Q&A is mine. And I did pivot this one, but it's because actually, Zaboutine, you were just making this point briefly. I actually think it's a real point. I also think we all sort of vibe on this. But remember, it's a hot take because I don't think fans agree with this at all. Like when I do other shows, I actually think Fearless will never be taken away from League of Legends. I think it is way too popular. And I think fans, remember, a lot of fans are just casual, just watch the game. I think for them, you will never beat telling them you get novelty of different champions every game. And you get to see... By the way, all the things I loved about not having Fearless is what fans hate. Like, so for example, what I love about Standard is mastery, practice, strategy. So for example, I always say, not only do you master a champion, again, take the Bin Jax one, for example, right? If Bin has Jax, what's your answer to it? The answer can't be, I don't have one. At a minimum, you have to ban it. That's another ban for my team right there, right? Also, there's the whole matchup thing. Like, okay, now you picked it. Cool, I'll play the other side of that matchup too. So what are you going to do about it? Like, it's this a brilliant thing that essentially you force other people to actually prove they are better at the game than you, not that they can just win game two because you can't pick that champion anymore. Then also, I'm sorry, in the modern day, I think the shittest thing. So essentially, by the way, I'll tell you what the actual take is. I just realized I haven't said it. The take is this. Fearless will actually prevent not only the best teams from ever doing like a Golden Road. The Golden Road is over, not because of tournaments. Fearless will never allow it, bro. I actually think BLG was the best team at the two international tournaments before EWC. Both First Stand and MSI, they were the best team in my opinion. I think they're the best team in every series they played. But the problem is you cannot win with this Fearless because it doesn't allow enough players. You said it earlier. It doesn't allow enough players to be elite at the game. Even though on paper we're all looking at these all-time greats and we're going, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a GOAT. Have you noticed how in Fearless, that's actually, if anything, by the way, I'll tell you here's another hot take. The one player I actually think that Fearless might actually elevate is fucking Knight. Because Knight at the moment is having these series where it's like, mate, yeah, you're not to blame. You can go sit over there while I'm going to tell these dickheads off. You did great, mate. You just can't win 1v9. You know what I mean? Like, you can't win 2v8, whatever. Like, so he's one of the only ones I've ever. And by the way, the reason why Keire knows is because he has a champion Ocean. He always has. He's always had an insane one. All the others, I'm sorry, even the greatest players typically don't want to play 4 or 5 champions. That's what their mastery level is. That's by the way, oftentimes the champion pick, people forget this. It's not just what you prac. It's what suits your style of play. It's what suits who you are. It's what suits your role in a team. That's one of the reasons why you get these series where, like, it's a random pick you don't even think of. Like, in which comp does the jungler play the Neferi? That can make you look like the biggest bomb in the world or the best fucking jungler in the world. Like, but it's the same champion. You're the same player. So the other thing as well about Standard that I love is you can design comps that have colour for your team. You know this as a coach. When you're in the back room, you don't know 100% the comp, but you have like a rough tree mapped out, almost like one of those mafia family trees when they're in the fucking police procedural where you're figuring out all the connections in them. And the best thing about Standard is, let's say they ban out one enchanter that you were going to pick to make your comp perfect. You pick the other enchanter and it's like 90% of the same thing. In Fearless, it's like you're trying to build a comp that would need an enchanter and at the end there's none left or your player doesn't play any and you're like, fuck it then, I don't know, Blitzcrank, because you just do some shit that's you play a comp you've never played, a comp they've never played. And I think the games are more exciting because people are playing game 4s and game 5s on comps neither team's ever practiced or played against in like international finals and semi-finals and shit. So I actually do think also, how do you practice for that? The joke of that is you almost need a Perkz thing. We're just practicing theoretically. We're not even practicing in the game anymore. I always thought the best thing about Koreans is when they drill their best 3 comps, good luck. You'll never beat them on though. Maybe you can get one of them, mate. But the other ones, that's what they practiced every day of every week for the last 3 weeks. Like, that's why actually I even think of Worlds last year. Worlds last year was mega exciting. But what absolute bullshit. Like, by the way, I was hating on T1. At the same time, when I look at some of the players on anyone's legend, do they deserve to be a world champion? What, fucking Hope? What? Does that shot? By the way, he could have been. He was one game away, I think, from going to the final winning. Then you look at the KT roster, mate, almost all of them don't deserve to be a world champion. That's what Fearless does. I think it actually makes the game like a bit random in a way. So I want to know what people think. I actually think it'll stop teams being consistent. So as a result, because they're made up of players, and players just cannot do this, mate. I don't think I think at the moment there's Knight. Maybe there's you can pick about 4 or 5. I'll give you an example of what actually made me think this thought up. I already thought it because of Bin, but what broke me is Keire, bro. I think in standard, Keire would be the go-to for. You'd never fuck with this guy. Oh, yeah. He can have half a bad split. In Fearless, even he can just have like some nightmare 2 weeks, mate. Where it's just nothing. He only has the Camille now. You know, he only has 2 games in a series that's good. I want to know what you guys think. I think Fearless is going to cock the game, even though I think fans will love it. The viewership. By the way, in a way, fans also like it. I don't know if you know this. The best example of this ever was actually hockey in the 2000s. People talk about it like it's the golden age because a different team used to win every single year in the Stanley Cup. They hate it. Fans hate it, by the way, when you have dynasties. They hate it when one team wins 4 in a row. They hate it in Counter-Strike when Vitality wins every tournament, by the way. They think that means the game sucks. I tell them, no, that's genius. That means they've mastered it, bro. That means they've invented something. No one can address it. They've built it fully out. They're versatile. All the players know their position. I think to a fan, they're like, it's boring though, isn't it? You know they're going to win. It's like, yeah, because we're watching a different game, mate. I'm watching Mastery. You're watching different names come up, crazy shit happens. So I want to know what you guys think. Fearless will hold everyone back from greatness.
When you go back.
Go on, Keire.
So I identified this problem straight away with Fearless. I even picked out the players that were going to be unaffected by them. But what the problem is it would entrench their team so much that it would affect them because League of Legends has become such a team game as a byproduct. As me as somebody who enjoys Knight, I just laugh at it, mate. Knight played all of last year extremely well, and all of this year his teams came up, right? Knight's actual individual level hasn't actually changed. That's what I've always laughed about. It's not actually changed that much. It's just the platform that he's playing from's a lot better, so he looks fucking 20 times better, right? Because and that's why I laughed. I was I said that I don't think BLG can Golden Road because June and On will never be consistent enough. Well, June and On are now consistent enough, and they still can't do it.
About as good as you'd hope for, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. How consistent do you need a group of players to fucking be to Golden Road?
Yes.
Bro, this year, I don't actually think Knight's played a bad game. I don't think he's literally played a net negative game. His most criminal offense is being solo killed by Caps in a matchup, and they still won the game. That's his worst game, was being solo killed by Caps. It's holy fucking shit, right? And they still can't win everything. They're still losing randomly to fucking WE and stuff like that. The variance in the game is off the scope. Just as a final Knight Glaze thing, right? Knight might be top 5 in the world on 20 different champions. As in he is either the best, easily second best, third best, and at worst 5th best on 20 champions. And they still can't win everything. And he's...
Same with Chovy.
Exactly, same with Chovy, right? And they still can't be consistent. If that means, and literally there is no draft, if you pick, figure this, if everybody picked mid laners and banned mid laners, you would only get to the second game where Knight's actually a bad player. And obviously that's the most crazy thought example fucking ever, right? Who else can you say that about? And you still cannot create consistency. We have entered a paradigm of pure mentalness where what we are actually challenging teams to be good at is a much different thought exercise than a League of Legends. That's why I say League of Legends as a competitive game has ended in 2024, right? Where for me Faker was the best player, and now we just have to start again. Now we have to start talking about everyone as, okay, what were you as a player in Fearless League of Legends? Because we can't use the same rule.
By the way, do you know what I mean though? It's a classic thing. I've given this analogy before, so I won't extend it. It's one I came up a long time ago in Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, at any one time, there's 7 maps, right? You can ban 1, right? A fan will always say, why don't you just practice all 6? They do, you idiot. The point is, you just can't maximize all 6 at the same time, can you? Let's let's be real. If you can even be good on 5, holy fuck, you're probably one of the best teams ever. Like, there's going to be one that doesn't suit your strength or a player or something. And if you put more time there, one of your other strengths goes down a little bit. There's only so many hours in the day. So essentially, what I always said, I had a video that was like, why can't teams be great on all the maps? It's like, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. There's not like, because people used to say shit, no, but there'll be young players will play them. No, these are the best players of all time. They can't. So I'm sorry. One thing I refuse to do is tell all the greatest League of Legends players, like Keire, oh, you're just not good enough, mate. A young kid will play more champions. They won't. He's as good as he can get. You can't get better than, we just named the players. You can't get better than these players. They're the best ever.
And here's the thing, right? And this was the example I gave from Worlds Final, and it fucking happened, and it's happened all this year and all last year. Faker, Galio, Faker, Silas cannot happen because Knight played them first. Well, what's happened?
True.
Where are all the big moments? Like, it's literally just ADCs killing everyone, which is a fundamental, like, universal constant of League of Legends. Because, like,
true.
ADCs do just kill. Where are all the big moments? Where are all the big LCK moments? Where are all the big LPL moments? Where are all the big... what is the most iconic play of MSI Final?
It's probably some bullshit Zeus thing or something else.
Like, you know what I mean? It's Zeus walking into three people as Swain and stat checking each other.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and when and you begin to realise the problem. Right, okay, and I'll just quickly, before I let you Zaboutine speak, go back in time to the BLG of 2024 when they were playing against Genji and they lose the final. Knight puts the Orianna ball onto Ben. Ben flashes into the team as Camille, and Orianna ults 4 people and they almost bring the game back. Everybody, that's on every highlight package of that tournament, every fucking top 25 player ever, right? Well, you can't do it. It doesn't exist in Fearless. That's it. And therein lies the problem. Ben can never be that good on Camille. And I even see it with Knight. Knight's not as good at Talia as he used to be in the past. Like, and this is the regression. And you have to accept this, that it's just a lost cause. Like it is. It's just a fucking...
It's like I said, if you want them to be better on more champions, they have to get worse on the best ones. It's just a fact.
Exactly. It's just a fact of life. Yeah.
There is one more thing that I think we miss from Classic is the reverse matchup that I really enjoyed. Like you pick your enemy. That is one of the biggest things.
Yes.
In France, we call it getting smabbed. Because Smeb used to do that. Like he would play and then he would play the flip champion. And Smeb got smabbed by Marin. And I remember that like in 2015. Because he played, I think it was Riven Hecarim, and then he took the Hecarim and the Riven killed him, something like this.
No, that's
Huni playing final.
That was...
I think he did that to Huni was the premise. I can't remember.
Yeah, he done that to Huni.
But Huni, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, bad memory. So
no, it's okay.
I think I have a big problem. I have been the biggest critic yet for the French audience about Fearless for many, many times, and I do think it's a great thing in BO5, and I think it is terrible in BO. Like it doesn't exist in BO1, and it's terrible in BO3. And I think BO3 is a pretty poor standard. I think we should play everything in BO5.
Yeah.
That said, one thing I really hate with Fearless is the same thing when they enlarged the length of the grass in Wimbledon, and then Nadal was able to beat Federer after that. I really hated that, and not because I don't think it's great that Nadal was able to beat, because I think as a sheer athlete, he deserves to be in one of these Grand Slam. But I think that the ATP has one of the best competitive system of all time in any sports. Because the Grand Slam is not just being the best over the year, it's being the best on 4 different splits, and every single split is on a different surface, and every surface plays a slightly different tennis, meaning that you need to be a perfect athlete and a complete athlete. And so being on slow bounce and fast bounces, being able to play serve and volley is completely different than just playing like a defender in the backyard court and being able to do the runs like Nadal was doing or Djoko is doing. And I think they've tried to normalize a lot, and then all the players were able to win way more consistently, but it kind of lost its flair. Yes. And I think we have moved the goalpost in League of Legends from expertise to versatility without like just in a snap of a finger, where I think that Riot had the perfect opportunity back last year when they included Fearless to actually do a thing where the 3 splits would have 3 different rule sets, and Worlds would be classic. MSI, they would have had to find something, maybe more bans, maybe Game 5, just the reintroduction of the Game 5 blind pick that was so exciting for the fans. Because I do understand the quest for engaging the people who don't watch League of Legends that often. I do think that's a fair critic towards classical, because classical is just a lot of Azir Corki most of the year, or Azir or Yana. We are nerds, right? We watch everything, and we kind of jack off. Sorry, I'm gonna say that word on like just a CS thing from Chovy. But the plebs doesn't, and I agree with that. But we had that chance of being like, oh, okay, so the winter split, people are gonna play in Fearless, and then gonna be that tournament in Fearless, and then in spring we're gonna have the 5th game in Blind Pick, and then we go to Classical, and winning Worlds in Classical has a legacy. So we didn't change the last split of the year because we want to be able to compare the people from 2015 to the people from 2026 or 2027, which is not possible. And I would add something. I think that, and this just falls back to the take I had before, is there is too much chaos. Because now you are playing in Fearless with champions that change, on patches that change, on map that change, with... it is impossible for people to catch up. We are speaking about Showmaker, who's able to get to Challenger, playing 84 games with 84 champions. Not good enough. We're speaking about Keire, who's able to pull a Kalista. That's what you said, right, Thorin? Play Kalista and Caitlyn support. Not good enough. We're speaking about Bin, that's able to, like, on 5 champion, just literally beat everybody in the world. Not good enough. So we're at the point where we have made it inhumanly impossible to perform at the level where the game is exciting. And on top of that, and that's my last point that no one has spoken about, but I'm trying to start digging that hole with the French audience, League of Legends is a perfectly incomplete game. We need more champions which do the same or close to the same thing.
Yes.
We can have a single Rakan.
Yes.
We cannot have a single Zac. There is no way we have only Poppy to actually cancel dash in the whole game.
Yes, exactly.
We have Cassiopeia and Singe. Singe is unplayable in competitive. So the only champion that has a ground option is Cassiopeia W. That makes absolutely no fucking sense. And so you end up with like a set of 80 champions that have the required tools to actually play. And once of this champion is gone, even though you perfectly know that you need a Poppy, like how many times we've seen just a Lee Sin blind picked because the Poppy is just banned or out, and you're like, oh yeah, it has been picked in support previous games, so no, it's fully that. And where is Rek'Sai? Where is the Rek'Sai? Where is the Gragas in the jungle? Where are the AD mid to allow the APs in the jungle to have? We don't have enough tools for Filas to be actually effective. So now we have a broken kit, players that don't have enough time to train, and series that end up with matchups that no one knows. So it's always the worst player that actually make the team lost instead of the best player.
By the way,
showing greatness.
You're even making me think, fuck League Classic, because they've already scuffed that. If anything, what you need to do if you want to revolutionise League is think of champions almost as classes of champions. And as you say, give them like a through line. So in the same way as that, I'll give like some of the rare examples. Obviously, everyone knows that like Thresh was a better Blitzcrank. But Blitzcrank existed. If you'd have had like 5 champions like that, that can then be a thing that supports. Okay, we can pick different ones. They'll have a different flavour to them. But the idea is the concept of the kit is similar enough that I can play a different one. Yes. I know what you mean. The problem is the guy who's amazing on Zoe and the fucking Orianna isn't going to be great on like Silas. You know what I mean? Like those, where are we going there? And also how can you ask him to be? Because like I say, forget Western players for a second, guys. These Asians have literally done what I always call like nightmare fuel fucking strategy, which is it's like they really did just sit someone in a room and say play the game for the infinity amount of times. Like you can't practice more than these humans. They've done the most ever. I mean, think of all the people we revere in sports, Kobe Bryant, Ronaldo, etc. What if we told them, nah, you weren't actually good enough at the game, though? It's like, I did infinity practice, I had all the talent. Like, yeah, but yeah, you needed to do these other things that weren't even in the sport. It's mad, isn't it?
Can
you pay for that, man.
Can I tell you one, by the way, just as a smell taste, because I hate bullshit, right? See, when fans talk about mirror matchups, mate, Thorin, like, you might have seen my tweets and all about this. When a fan on Reddit complains about a mirror matchup, mate, I go and actually pull up the data, because I watched it all, and I know they're talking fucking shite, right? How many times in LCK playoffs do you think Narvanectin was played from 2017 to 2017 to 2025?
I mean, they're going to say loads, so hit us with the number. What is it?
8 times.
In how many years?
From 2017 to 2025.
Fucking hell. But they're going to go, it's every game it is.
Bro, I went and manually counted it, mate, with all the fucking, that's what I'm saying. They are talking absolute shite because guess what they don't do? They don't actually watch the game, mate. They're fucking fake fans, mate. That's the only thing.
Also, what they forget about that is, by the way, mirror matchups was never a problem except one role. You all know it. It's mid lane. It was only when it was Corki, Zay, every time. Mid lane did that. All the others didn't. I'm with you. Like, actually, because, for example, I'll give you another reason why. You might go, Thorin, ADCs have small champion pools. The supports don't. So it's a different support pairing, isn't it? It's not Aphelios into the same thing every time because it's a different support. Aphelios Thresh is very different from Aphelios from somewhere else, isn't it? Like, that's Amelia or something. That's a totally different game. No, I'm with you. It's actually the reason I bring this up is I actually thought we would all agree, but I'm pretty sure fans don't. Like, unfortunately, this is where you have to realise, like, sports will always have to compromise to just let the most fans and plebs watch. Unfortunately, we do maximise entertainment. I said this on the whole argument when people argue about double elim and having an advantage for the winner. Here's the reason why we don't have big advantages for the winners bracket winner, because then the final's worse and it's more likely to be a stomp and it's just not a great game. And we want the finals to be the best game ever. That's exciting. So we have to make it equal. If we don't make it equal, it isn't that one-off spectacle when it's the best shit ever. So unfortunately, yeah, I thought this was a good one. Anyway, we have got the Q&A section now. So this, technically, you're all here still now. In the future, this will only be behind the paywall on Last Free Nation if you are a premium member. And if you do sign up, obviously, pick our show, pick up Point Made, League of Legends, so Keire and Zaboutine. Look, I'm on all the fucking shows, but don't worry, I get it. I get mine as well, so I still win anyway. Don't know, but take away, don't give it to Yamato, just give it to these two. So here's the questions. For today, we did it via Twitter. So I did a couple on a tweet, and then I also took some from some of the Insight one because I forgot to do a tweet early enough. But whatever, they're all questions from fans. So how about this one? I thought this was a really fun angle. Craig says, some of them also do that greedy thing. I always say, you don't get to ask the genie for a million wishes. You get one wish. So I'm going to switch his question. He says, who do you think are the best current players to never play at an international event? Now, he wanted it from all regions. Again, fuck off. I'm not doing a 20-minute show like that, and I don't give a fuck about stuff. But are there any right now? Are there any like players that are current, really good players that have never played an international? Is there someone that comes to mind?
I would say Rooster from Shifters. I think this guy is nuts. I think he's crazy. I think he should have stayed in Korea. And if he was drafted, he could be the current top laner for T1. This guy was destined to play instead of Zeus for HLE. So HLE doesn't hire randoms, right? They have a pretty good scouting system and they are risk averse, right? They are ready to spend as much money as needed to get the best for their buck. And they were aiming to get him, and they got Zeus. And I think that guy will probably not make... I mean, I'm a Shifter co-streamer, so I hope he's going to make Worlds, but probably not. And I don't think because of his current results, he's going to be able to. And I think it's a disservice. We could probably mention Thanatos as well. But that are the two names that I feel like are players.
Yes.
There is kind of a drop in top lane currently in the world. And these guys are exceptional in terms of clicks, but they need to learn their role, and I don't think they're gonna learn it being imports in regions where they cannot really be taught anything because they don't speak the language. And that's a kind of a heartbreak for me because I think these two are like exceptionally talented, and they could probably ascend to the level of a Saiwu or a Thorin very quickly if they were given the chance in Korea.
Really quickly, Vitality's top laner. Leave Sheer. Leaves like obviously the obvious one because he's like arguably a top 3 LPL like prospect, but he's just fucked because of like things that he's done in the past. And then LCK's probably got a bomb. A name that's like he's not really deserving, but he's an interesting player would be somebody like Bulldog, who's like one of these like all-time journeymen where he's never going to break into the truly elite period, but like he's the type of guy that could spike an international event and an ADC mid-meta and do a lot better than people think.
The problem with this...
Young Bo as well.
Who? Oh, Bo, the jungler. Yeah, he was mega talented, yeah. No, the problem with this question is the questioner's been too slick on this. Remember, in the West, like, we have 3 teams go as well, so unfortunately, there's too many players have gone, and in the West especially, we don't have the turnover they have in the LPL and the LCK, so most of the real, and with you, it has to be like Thanatos, etc., mate. But if we're going to go for, like, Asian players, because obviously there's very talented players who just never get close to international, I'll give you some modern-day ones. Like, he just played in the LPL players. How about Monkey from Team WE? That guy's a really fucking interesting player. I actually love to see that guy maybe get imported or something. If you want an ADC, 1XN. I know people aren't going to know him because he's on a lesser team. Got really good mechanics. Looks like he could be a star player, maybe one day play for a top team. There aren't many, unfortunately, that you're going to have in Korea because I think Korea is very top heavy at the moment. The bottom teams actually in Korea, interestingly enough, are like older names that just now play in the bottom teams, don't they? It's not really the case that's like young talents. So it's not. Here's the thing. It sounds like a really good question. It's just we don't have many good answers for this one, unfortunately. Too many people, and they've now got 3 international events a year. We're not counting EWC, obviously, because technically Thanatos was like the playing of that or whatever when he saw. Right, here's another question. This is a good one. Eggy says, an inspired team is yet again, this obviously this was before the match, I assume. An inspired team is yet again at the doorstep of upsetting an Eastern team. What does he need around him to convert those series into wins? Considering the limitation on imports, is a potential Dylan Falco-esque coaching move what you need to push Inspired over the line? Because obviously, if people don't know, Inspired generally, despite what that dickhead on Twitter said, where a stupid fan just literally lied and said Inspired had never won a single match against Asians, and I just immediately pointed out he literally did. He won like 2 against fucking like an Worlds, and there was one at an MSI or something, which just wasn't true. But in general, in series play, it's true. Inspired's always in the ones like FlyQuest and Lion, where it's like, we were so close. It's like, but you didn't win though, mate. You have to win the game eventually. Like you can't just be close. Team Liquid did the same thing. We almost beat them. Yeah, but you didn't. What makes a win epic is that you got over the line. The Nexus blew up. KC just did it today. The Nexus has to blow up. There's no like, well, he gave him a real good try. So what would Inspired need to take his games over the line?
Go to Europe and get an SK team like Mickey X, where he decides all the players and handpicks them all, and they all buy into his, and he's like the tribal chief, and they all just fucking like are subservient to him. Basically, like, I'm actually pretty sure, like, if he could take like a GX and GM it, or like Vitality, like
I think he would be so good for him.
Yeah, like that's actually the perfect one. Yeah. But you'd need to buy in though. Like I don't know if like Nako and stuff, because they've got like their own like fucked up egos, Zaboutine, if they would give him the buy-in. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
But you need talent.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. But I would prefer they listen to him than be talented, because he's taken them to game 5 with like handless morons, right? Whereas like I only think he needs like 5 or 10% more talent. I don't think he needs 30. You know what I mean, to get it over the line.
I mean, his team currently is very good. I personally think he had. I think Berserker is a pretty good ADC. I think Saint is a really good mid laner. I don't think there is that many mid laners in EU that are way better than Saint.
Does he get better top laner? I know he's your boy. Come on. Come on.
Dhokla
he needs a better top laner. Come on.
Yes, of course, he hasn't been playing well. And I think Dhokla is capped on multiple aspects of his game. When he's playing weak side, he's there. I think when he's playing strong side, there is definitely weaknesses that he hasn't been able to fix throughout the years. But yeah, he still needs talent. I think the talent spread around him is pretty weak overall. It's never dense enough for his team to be considered like a elite level team. I would say he had the shot multiple times, but because of first behavior and second, let's be honest, a little bit of greed as well, he had rather accepted a better pay in a worse region, and he made the best out of it. But I think that if he really desperately wanted to join G2, I think he would have had a shot. I don't think that him calling G2 and being like, guys, I'll take any money. I really want to play with Caps. I think we are the 2 best players in the West. Let's build a team. Let's try at least for a year. Just sign me for a 1-year contract, even minimum wage. I don't care. I want to win. I'm 100% formal. He would have played in G2. And I do think that if he pinged Casey when Yike and him were on the market, he would have gotten in Casey. So I feel like he just went for the better career in terms of future. And the drawback of it is just being 3-2 instead of him winning 3-2. And that's just that's the drawback of going for the money. That's basically it.
My problem with this is, first of all, it's sort of implied he did do that, basically. He tried to join any of the top teams in Europe, and it's claimed, basically, I was behind the scenes, that they just said no. They were like, sorry, we want Skewmond, or we're going to stick with Yike, or whatever. That's why, as far as I can tell, he keeps trash-talking all the European teams publicly. Here's what's funny. NA fans don't get this. This is where Inspired is actually a little bit like a Perkz. He's too honest. He just has to say, he doesn't have same with the doublelift disease. They don't have, like, the thing between the mouth and the brain that goes, well, maybe don't listen. I don't either, but fucking, I'm not trying to be a fucking pro player. I have teammates. In general, I'm being a bit of a solo star. Just go give me the ball and I do what I want. So the weirdest thing I do think is this. I think the way that he actually, the reason he gets mad against EU teams is he knows that this team won't be the one that'll like ever win an international tournament. He actually knows, basically, here's the obvious answer. I think it's really obvious. Because how good he is, he needs to have one of those insane EU super teams. Like, I'm sorry, I love Yankos, but if you give him the G2 Super Team, he'd also be very good. He could have a chance to win. Like, because I do think Inspired is legitimately brilliant beyond just like he's a good jungler. He does that shit where like he's a mad floor raiser. Like you could put players on his teams I don't think are that good, and suddenly like they just have a little bit extra. And especially he has that thing that it's funny because I don't think he actually has like the warmth and charisma of the Perkz captain angle. But if you listen to the things he's saying, it sounds like actually he is mega at knowing like when he has a carry. Like, here's what you need to get ahead in the game. Here's how I'm going to get you into position to win here. If you do what I'm saying now, we will make the rotation, we'll win this fight. But I will say an obvious problem there is this. The reason why I pointed out that he doesn't necessarily have the Perkz charisma is people love those super teams. But if you are in one of those super teams, lesser players will listen to you because you're a genius and they're lesser players. Will the star players listen to you? You know what I mean? Like, I actually think the most underrated thing Perkz ever did in G2 was, bro, how did they convince Wonder to be like a weak sider and a fucking flex shit when it was bad for the mid lane? Like, bro, he should be bin. He should be like, give me my shit. I carry. I'm Wonder. The game comes through top lane. That was even what his game was before he joined like the super team and they got the bot lane in. Like that's really hard to do. So unfortunately, I don't really know that you're going to get that. Like, at this point in time, it doesn't seem like he is coming back to Europe, does he? Like, they're happy with Skewbond. Listen, the KSC one is still a mystery to me. I'm sorry, I would just upgrade Yike to Inspired. I think that's a gamble you make. I think it's one of those ones that you can win if you do, you know. If it, for whatever reason, maybe they don't want to do it. I think actually, I don't know why this is, but I always get the perception of their team, they do think Yike is their captain and, you know, he's like important to the vibe or some bullshit like that. I don't know about that personally. So I'm sorry, I do think you have to get the fuck out of NA. You got to go to EU. Listen, this part's impossible because the GM has to do is you have to get a super team. You have to have some cracked out squad where everyone's insane around you. And even then, by the way, for all we know, you get the knack and maybe the guy is a dickhead. Maybe the shit he said is maybe he does just run it down or not listen to you, or he plays the Yasuo when you're like, bro, believe me, this is like a fucking Nar angle. And he's like, nah, I shit on him in lane, you know, whatever. That's just how players are, unfortunately. It's also why I agree. We should definitely do one about coaching one day, because if people only knew the shit behind the scenes, that's half the fucking game, bro. Like I always say the story, everyone's going, why are you overrating Youngbuck? If you knew the fucking fires this guy put out 1 hour before a game and then won the game, you would never believe. I've always said the only way those people would ever get their credit is if you have like a full behind the scenes documentary that gets you released years later, you know, Breaking Point style. Then you'd know why some of these coaches were goated. Even Dylan Falco, I sort of hinted at it in a certain video. Dylan Falco has had some of the biggest games of his career where he built the whole draft and at the end the player went, fuck you, I'm not playing it, and then picked some shit that didn't make any sense. Then they lost the game and every fan went, Dylan Falco is a moron. Why didn't he not pick that? And he's like, brother, I tried to, but I'm not allowed to come out. Unfortunately, league coaches can't go on the mic and go, yeah, it was all that player's fault. He fucked me completely. They have to go, I'm a moron, I guess. Sorry, guys, I'll try harder next time. It's all on me, even though it definitely wasn't. Same with Grabs, it definitely wasn't all on me. But yeah, that's why I always joke now. I did this joke on Somebody Insight. The way you know Fnatic got worse and worse and worse and worse is Grabs would still say it's all on me, but then he'd go, comma, and then he'd just explain how it was all the players' fault. Do you know what I mean? But he would say the right thing first, so he was protected and he did his job, you know. But then he would sort of be like, some of us didn't want it. You know that thing where it's like, when you say that, some of us didn't want it enough, some of us aren't practicing enough. It's like, mate, if you keep narrowing it down, I can guess who all these people are. One of them's humanoid, one of them's, you know, one of them's Razok didn't. Yeah, I can guess it all. But yeah, I know at the end you have to take the bag. I understand that. Right, this is another question for you. Oh, it's actually perfect because it's right in line. Listen, you thought you were off the hot seat. You're right back on the hot seat. Julio Uribe says, how good is Dhokla? GMs seem to rate him low, but here he is winning LCS and he did a fine job at MSI. Not one of the best tops in the world, but is he worthy of a top team slot in NA? Thoughts? He's your boy, so you tell me.
I mean, he's solid. He's a very solid player. I think he has a very big misrepresentation of his strength, because I think the tools he's using to win in solo queue are the ones that are playing against him in competitive. I think Dhokla is a really good flanker, and I think, for instance, Broken Blade is a really good flanker too. And every time Broken Blade doesn't play a flanker, you can look at the games. He's pretty poor with them. I think that's why he's not that good on the Rumble, because Rumble is kind of weird. He can be flanker, but it's not. But you play Broken Blade, you give him a Renekton, you give him like a Kled, something that can TP, go into the backline, disrupt. Excellent. Dhokla is exactly that. He's very, very good at finding angles. We had many screens where he was playing his Cannon, and although he wasn't like lane perfect with Cannon because it requires a lot of spacing, he it still like blends with his natural skills on Jace. He really likes playing Jace. I mean, every top player likes Jace because you have so much agency in solo queue. But I think that it is very hard for a top laner and for a coach to tell a player what you really like. You're not good at it. So you have to compose with giving some games of what he likes, even though you kind of know you're going into a dead end sometimes. And there is plenty, like I'm speaking about Dhokla, plenty of top laners go for the Jace and are not good at it. He's not a poker. He's not really a duelist. He's a very, very good flanker. And every time I see teams using him as a flanker, they win games. And I think Lion, for instance, is a perfect team for him. But you clearly see that there is a canyon between the games he's playing Jace, Varus, and Vayne, and the games where he's playing, I don't know, Sion, and all of these like low econ flanking champions. I just feel like he's very solid, the same way Odo was solid, or Wunder can be solid. Very good player. You can win titles with him. It's gonna be a bottleneck when you reach the level where you need to be a duelist and a flanker at the same level to face the Bins, the Kins, the Zeus, and all these guys. But domestically, I think he's very solid, and I think he's madly underrated in NA.
The thing is, I can't tell anyone and I cannot tell you something about Dhokla that Zaboutine can, that your eyes cannot tell you. Okay, like you can look at Dhokla and you can basically deduce like who he is very much from like what's going in the game. He's a very like front level like. Let me give you an analogy. C9 high. It's very hard to look at C9 high when he was playing support and deduce all the things that were happening. You would need to hear the players like Incarnation / Jensen and the jungler telling you he's doing all these things to thing his value. I think you can derive a lot of Dhokla's value from what's going on in the game, and it's very self-evident.
It's very tangible.
Yeah, okay. But that being said, I would never advocate for his team if they could find a theoretical upgrade to him, right? The problem being is, who is this upgrade, right? It is, and this is the question, the crux that everything has. Like the TL teams of old cheated in terms of like how many native players that they had. Who do you get to replace Dhokla? I don't think the person, and Dhokla obviously for me is someone who looks like they've heavily bought into Inspire system. I don't think this person is very readily available, and as such, like, I don't think in terms of expediency, like you just like discard them. I know they tried to with who was the guy that they got to? It was like what was the guy's name?
It was something like Zamundi or something. It was a bit like the Arsenal player,
like,
something like that.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, and this is someone I'd actually been watching games of, and he is theoretically the type of person that you would get to replace Dhokla.
Well, the thing is, it was implied that's also why Inspired joined. He thought these players were all cracked and he was going to join, wasn't he? Even though, by the way, the problem with that player is I just think of Zuba every time I see his fucking name. It's in my brain, so whatever.
But I would warn against this. There's nothing to say that he would have been strictly better than Dhokla, by the way, because the team would have had to have been a better team in a very different way. Because, like, again, you might have not had the same buy-in, you would not have had the same like style. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, as good as Inspired is, he has like turned back in terms of like he does enable 2 primary carries.
Yep.
So you know what I mean, once you add a third chef into that mix, not many people have been able to run.
That's what I said about Bin before. When you had Bin, Knight, and Elk, how do all 3 people carry? You can't, exactly. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that is the recipe that you might have fucked up.
Yes.
So that fundamentally in the day is a very, very hard thing to make a call on.
No, what's funny is it's why I like the analogy to Odoamne. I would also say I would draw parallels to like 369. I also think what actually I like about these players is what they lack to be the super carry and the best star player is what allows them in an ADC to fucking carry the game. Why do you think all the teams that Dhokla joins, he just does like a good job, sacrifices players without the resources of the best picks most of the time, and crucially he has that Odoamne mindset of like, it doesn't matter if you're better than me, my job isn't to beat you, my job's just to not let you destroy me and then to help the rest of the team. And crucially, one way I'm already helping the team when I'm playing against you is I already gave them the resources of the picks and the jungler. That is fucking huge. Like, actually, it's very, very rare you can have those. Like, think about what a joke I said earlier it was. The G2 super team was like that because Wunder was like, I should actually be the carry, I should basically be Bin, but fuck it, I guess I'll be the third carry who doesn't, I only only get it like, 1 out of 5 games I get the pick where I carry the game and shit on everyone. The rest of the time, Caps and Perkz or whoever else gets the pick. So I think that's a mad underrated quality in a player. That's what Dhokla clearly has. His obvious problem is he doesn't have like Nako's hands or something. He's not going to fucking outplay everyone and do the craziest shit ever. But also in his teams, he's not required to do that. So actually, I think in the teams he has played in, he is very well suited. That's why, even though initially it seems like came in as standing every time, that's why they don't get rid of him. They eventually just go, well, this works. And actually, it's not like, let's be real. It's not like the real reason they lost to HLE was just because Dhokla isn't as sick as he could be. Like, I'm pretty sure actually some of the other players got outplayed too. Like, you can't put that on him. Like, he's also one of the reasons why you might have beaten like a G2, for example. How about that? Didn't we all watch Broken Blade just fucking booty smack Thorin? And everyone was going, greatest series of Broken Blade's life. And as like a low-key Broken Blade hater, I was loving the fucking Dhokla series. I was like, bro, is Dhokla in your GOAT fucking top laner of the West conversation? Because by your logic, he is. He then did that to fucking Broken Blade in some of those games and made him look shit. So I think that is mad underrated. And sorry, this is one thing I learned a long time in League of Legends, right? I think there are... the only way, in my opinion, you can have a true super team where all 5 roles are cracked is where you cheat and one of them basically is like a low resource god. He's a god but with nothing. Most teams you actually want, in theory, like, so I actually think Dodo Amne did do that. Dodo Amne could have been a Keire in his career if people don't know. 369 probably could be used to be on TES, people don't know. You can sacrifice that and that'll probably give you a chance. Otherwise, you just need to accept that there's 3 carry roles but you can only have 2 at once. It's like that thing, I always forget, Sally, I should look it up because I can remember this. They say that when I can't remember if it's like for products or something, it's like you can be cheap, it can be efficient, and it can be this. Do you know what it is?
It's fast, cheap, and good quality.
There you go.
You can choose only 2.
The idea is it's like whack-a-mole. As soon as you pick 2, the third one's not available. And if you put that one on, then one of the others isn't available. Because think about how it works. How could it be really good quality, but it's fast and cheap? That would really good quality would be expensive, right? Then what if it's like bad quality where it can be fast? Yeah, essentially it's the same with super teams. In my opinion, one role has to sacrifice, even though in theory they can all carry. And by the way,
Zeus was weak side in T1. Zeus was playing Aatrox, just respecting everything.
Exactly.
And here's why Dhokla actually is slightly underrated. Not because of that bullshit, this big dogs, but no, here's why. It's because actually in history, this is also the bad news for Bin. In history, it is top lane that has to be the sacrifice. I'm sorry, it just is. Yes. We've tried all these teams, bro. I mean, look, Damwon was supposed to be the best top side ever. They didn't get that many fucking internationals, did they? They were supposed to win them all. They didn't get them, bros. They lost them. That's unfortunately the way the game goes. Right, we'll do another one. Let me see. This is a good one here. Right, there's just a question that just asks. Obviously, it's up to you guys. Just says, Leo says, basically wants us to talk about C9's roster moves. So they brought Loki back, if you saw that one. They brought in, who was it as ADC they got? I'm going to have to look it up now. Who did they get as ADC? I'm drawing a blank on this. Oh, Tactical. There you go. Tactical came in as ADC. That was the other change. So they brought in Tactical as ADC and Loki came back as mid laner. Oh, and also they added YamatoCannon as assistant coach. What do we think about these moves?
I think Cloud9 used to have the best culture, and regardless of the players, they will always win with their culture. And now they have a problem with their culture, meaning that it's not a player change, it's a culture shift that needs to happen. I believe that they were ahead in scouting. They were ready to make hard choices, bench their best players or sell them. And they were eager to play local, lose on the short term. No, they are going for the old team Liquid that just buys very expensive players to mix and match with the local talents. I don't think there is. I mean, I really, despite everything he said about me when I was at Immortals, I have mad respect for Dom as a brain for League of Legends, and I think he does an immense job with his staff. But I do believe that top to bottom, there are changes that need to happen for C9 to be more agile as an organization and try to win with think outside of the box the way they used to. And so I don't think that they are just a strong player for a strong player way change of winning, because it has never been about talent the last few years. It was always about crumbling at the right moment. And specifically, I would say, even though I really, really like him, I think Blabber has had the carry you don't wish the player you like to have, meaning he's gonna everybody's gonna forget how good of a player he was because he's never accepted to work on what makes good junglers great, and now he's kind of outdated in the way he plays. And because he doesn't want to do the switch that Jankos has done in his career. No, he's switched from being an elite aggressive jungler to a bad serviceable jungler, and that breaks my heart because I really like the player. But I think that's the C9 I knew would have benched Blabber a long time ago, or would have put him, not even fire him, but put him in competition with someone younger. And the C9 I know would have gotten Yukino much earlier, and Yukino should be the current jungler. So because of all these exit doors along the way that they haven't taken, I would say it's not a problem of player, it's a problem of culture, because it means that they are not able to realize opportunities that arise to them on the way, meaning they are failing organizations on the sports side, at least, in League of Legends.
So like C9, like I'll just like speed run it. I think in terms of like roster, they should just be like winning everything. But like obviously League of Legends has come way beyond like roster strength just besides championships. It's a very archaic thing of the past. One of the things, like, I don't obviously know them, like, at all. I only know them front-facing from consuming their content. But to me, as, like, an outsider, if I'm to put on, like, Kiri's, like, 10 IQ fan hat, right? Like, it looks like, to me, like, Yamato and, like, Dom do, like, similar things. Now, they might have completely different strengths that I, like, don't know about. But, because, like, I think am I completely wrong here? Like, the coaching staff is Dom, Yamato, and Viger V2. That is like the three primary coaches, right? I get a feeling for like what like Dom and Yamato do, and they have like somewhat like share strengths. And I know what Viger V2 does. But the weird one for me is in the sense of like when I look at C9, I see a lot of Dom and I see like a lot of that. I don't see a lot of in terms of like Viger V2. I know Viger's V2 supposedly only really helps out in terms of like matchups and like picks and stuff, but so like it's very ethereal. Like he could be helping the mid laner like work out like his first bases and stuff like that on any champion, and he might not be inputting on like draft, which is where I think is a bit more mercurial. But put it this way, if they think this is the direction in terms of like where they need to go to win, like, that is fine, but I actually think they probably need to make a player pivot now in terms of, like, how entrenched... Not so much in terms of, I hate this word, and like, losing culture, but they have been losing since summer last year, yeah? Basically. Like, that, yeah. They've been basically... They've lost every single time since summer last year. I'm not, like... So, like, that is now, you're getting into, like, crazy levels of, like, losing streaks, so... Probably something does have to like change. I don't know, like
my problem with this
question.
My problem with this is this. I actually think I have a very different perspective on... Sadly, this is... If Keire will know this is like my oldest fucking gripe in League of Legends, that everyone in League of Legends just tells me to our face I'm an idiot that doesn't understand League of Legends. Because every time I tell them I believe in Are you ready for this mythical role only I believe in? It's called the shot caller. Every time I do this, I get sat down by like the Kelsey Moores of the world, like I'm a dunce, and they go, Thorin, you don't understand. All 5 players should communicate and they should all have ideas, and the junglers should coordinate the objectives, and then the bot lane should secure the dragon, and then the side laners need to know when to side lane, and then and it's like at the end of all of that though, who coordinates it all? That's the shot caller. See, the guy at the end, so that's why if you think of the greatest teamers of all time, they all have a shot caller. Whether it's Perkz, whether it's Core JJ, but you keep going down the line, they're all mega. Here's what's mad. If I look at the best EU teams, I actually think in general, most of them are defined by the shot caller. Like, I think if you go and look, like, I will say this is a bit trickier because I don't know actually if Skumon does it in G2 right now. I actually think G2 actually maybe lacks a shot caller. That's even another reason I think they go this Perkz route, right? I think historically though it was someone like a Perkz, etc. I think if you go and look, right, the obvious player is, I assume in their team, they think the shot caller is Blabber because it looks like he's the star and the game's based around him, right? If that's so, he isn't good enough at it. Like, he doesn't understand his own game enough as far as I can tell. So, I mean, we had this conversation before, but I was like Razork. On a lesser level, he's got the Kanavi thing. He either kills you in the fucking game or he's a total bomb and he ints the shit away. That can't be the leader, bro. That can't be the shot caller. What does he do when he's drowning? Like, how's he going to help everyone else? So I'll tell you the obvious thing. Look, they couldn't do it now because these are emergency moves before summer when no one's fucking available. available. That's why they brought back Loki, and they just basically shuffled the coaching staff, and then they brought Tactical, who, if you think it's funny that you're being kind towards Dom was notorious for making fun of Tactical for being a fucking bum for all those times he jumped in on Team Liquid and shit. So my problem is this: the obvious move can't be this year; it has to be in the future. I'm not joking. If I am Cloud9, I'm willing to reset almost every player on this squad, and I have a whiteboard in the offseason that says names like, look, you're not going to get most of them, but you go for them. Names like El Yoya. People who can be like, this can be my captain, my shot, define my whole style. Then we add in the players. Because I actually think that's what they missed. Like, if I was Cloud9, the most obvious thing I would ask myself is, how were we the best team in the regular split? And then we can't do anything in the playoffs and we can't do anything internationally. Like, that implies like something doesn't work about our game when the game gets hard. Like, when we actually need to be really coordinated, make a key, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen for them. So I don't know that they can do it right now. And also, I don't know in the modern day, unless you want to spend big, if you can get them. I mean, the joke is, the obvious thing I'd say if you're Cloud9 is, how the fuck is Inspired in your region and he's not on your team? You're Cloud9. Who is Lion? Isn't Lion an org from Mexico or something? Am I hallucinated? How is that? How have they got your player, bro? You're Cloud9. TSM isn't even there anymore. CLG's like a fucking memory. You should you should be the G2 of your region. You should get first pick of every player. And in fact, like G2 can usually, it's actually a big deal because Liz turned them down. I actually think in the future, when Caps is done, they will get Jojo. He'll just fucking leave immediately. He'll go to G2. If you were Cloud9, you should have been the one after FlyQuest. Like, join me, Inspired. We'll build the team you want. In fact, you know what? The joke is they should have built Lion on their squad. They should have said, Inspired, you join. Right, pick 2 players. Right, I pick the Berserker and Saint. Right, there you go. They're in the team, but we'll give you Wolf Vulcan and we give you this guy top. Like, that should have been, in my opinion, how you built the team. So instead, it looks to me like they're doing that thing I hate, which is you build a bunch of players like, he's all right. Yeah, he's good. He could be good. And it's like, at the end, it's like, yeah, but what's the magic that adds to this squad? What makes it? You're supposed to believe, I'm sorry, you are supposed to believe it's Blabber because they've doubled down on him 1 million times. I think that will go down in history as one of the most ridiculous like buy-ins ever, because I've never got it. I've genuinely never understood. And by the way, it's not actually Dom now in C9. He's not being biased. Dom used to always be a big Blabber fan even before this. It's one of the weird. It's one of those areas where, as a jungler, obviously, it's the game very different to me as a perspective. I've never got the Blabber thing. I've always thought if I'm not a C9 fan, fun to watch when he pops off. I'll tell you what though, as someone who was a fan of Inspired on EG and Line, I love when fucking Blabber's playing him, mate. I'm like, fucking, that's fried chicken, homie. That's delicious. Inspired must be getting up in the morning going, oh, what a great fucking day. Top of the morning to you. I'm off to the studios because I'm going to fucking own this guy. I live in his head. So I can't, that's my biggest problem is no shot caller. Anyway, we gave you a pretty long one to give you a freebie. In the future, if you want the Q&A, it'll be behind the paywall. Subscribe at Last Free Nation. We'll see you hopefully next week on another episode of Hot Take Point Made.